This was the first time I encountered something I just couldn't explain. It all happened at the Pachinko parlor I frequented. Back then, aside from playing Pachinko, I didn't have much else to be interested in. Honestly, I had practically become what people called a Pachinko addict. One day, I even skipped work and took a day off from the company just to play Pachinko. I planned to start playing early in the morning. Near my house, there was a branch of a Pachinko chain. It was usually pretty busy, but during the day it was too crowded. I showed up at the parlor around 10 in the morning. After playing through the morning, I managed to rack up several boxes of Pachinko balls. I was pretty happy about hitting a jackpot today, so I took a break to go eat lunch. When I returned to the parlor after eating, I noticed something strange. The middle-aged man sitting to the left of my machine was still furiously playing Pachinko, but to his left, there was now a shorter elderly man sitting in that spot. I walked past behind the old man and glanced sideways. He was truly strange. He pressed his face tightly against the glass of the Pachinko machine and seemed to be muttering to himself. Pachinko parlors always had a few oddballs, so I didn't think too much of it. Even though I didn't catch what he was saying, he just felt creepy, the kind of guy who gave me a bad vibe. But I didn't dwell on it and went back to my own seat to keep playing. I found myself thinking about the middle-aged man to my left. He didn't seem to mind the strange old guy next to him at all. Actually, that middle-aged man had already spun the machine over 1,000 times without hitting a jackpot. Most people would stop paying attention to anything else after losing so long they kind of zone out. After a while, a young guy in his 20s walked over, studying the counters on the machines. He slowed down behind the old man's spot, checking the data displayed on that machine. I kept watching for a moment. The old man hadn't changed. His face remained pressed against the glass, almost whispering to himself. But looking closer, he wasn't really playing Pachinko at all. He was just sitting there, face glued to the glass, muttering. Honestly, seeing that just made the old man seem all the stranger. It actually made me want to take a closer look at that machine's data too. As I was pondering this, my machine suddenly entered a ready for jackpot mode. I focused all my attention on it, but unfortunately, I didn't win. I cursed inwardly, then glanced over at the middle-aged man. After spinning over 1,000 times, he finally hit a jackpot. I then looked left again where the old man had been, but the seat was empty. Instead, the young guy who had checked the data before was now sitting there. Where had that weird old man gone? Had he left? I looked around but saw no sign of him. In the aisle, it was just me, the middle-aged man, and the young guy. I thought, well, good riddance. Hoping the old guy's absence wouldn't distract me, I refocused on my machine. After playing a bit, a strange feeling came over me. The glass on the Pachinko machines reflected very clearly, so I could see behind me. And behind me, something felt off. A person was standing there. Looking in the reflection, I saw it was that same strange old man. He was right behind me, head bowed, staring, not really watching my machine but more like he was looking at my neck. It grossed me out, but I tried to pretend I didn't notice. Kept playing. The Pachinko parlor was loud, so I wore earplugs most of the time. Still, even through the earplugs, I could hear the old man's muttering growing louder and louder. I caught the words clearly now. He was rapidly repeating why was. It gave me chills. Why was he focused on me? Suddenly, I stood up without looking at him, trying to ignore him. I hurried off to the restroom to get away. Luckily, he didn't follow me. Inside the restroom, I breathed a sigh of relief, but the unease lingered. After washing my face, I headed back to my spot. When I got there, I saw the old man was sitting in my seat, and just like before, His face was pressed against the glass, mumbling constantly. Seeing that, I felt disgust rather than fear, but what irritated me even more was how he could just casually sit in someone else's machine while they were still playing. To the second floor, where the pachinko machines stood like silent sentinels in the dim light. Just as I was about to reach out and tap the old man's shoulder, the same old man who had been oddly sitting at the pachinko machine, the moment froze. Suddenly, he snapped his head around sharply toward me. I got a good look at his face, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. His eyes weren't eyes at all, for huge, hollow holes stared out where his eyes should have been. From those empty sockets, a black, viscous liquid dripped steadily. His mouth hung wide open, grotesquely large, while an impossibly loud voice tore through the silence, shouting, "Why? Why?" Though I was wearing earplugs, the sound didn't just reach my ears, it felt like it was echoing inside my skull. It all happened so fast, and before I could even respond, the old man vanished right before me. That's when it hit me, the man wasn't alive. He was something else entirely. Something dangerous, frozen in place. My heart pounding. I barely had the strength to call over a staff member to count my steel balls and exchange them for prizes. After that, I left the store at once, never to return. I quit pachinko soon after, haunted by that experience. That shadow of fear kept me away. Honestly, that terrifying encounter was the best thing that ever happened to me, and grateful for it because it saved me from gambling addiction. Anyone who's ever been inside a pachinko parlor knows it's a chaotic temple of noise, machines clacking away, steel bowls pinging, unrolling, and that relentless machine music hammering into your brain. After a while, when you finally step outside, your ears buzz and ring from the endless racket. If you stay too long, you risk permanent damage. Some people bring headphones to drown out the noise with music. Others have discovered the steel balls themselves make surprisingly effective earplugs. It sounds crazy, but those little metal spheres can really block sound. One day, Ryuichi went to the store, stuffing steel balls into both ears as makeshift earplugs. In the quiet that afternoon, he focused intently on his game. But when he tried to pull the balls out afterward, they were wedged tightly. No matter how he tried, even with tools, the balls just wouldn't budge. There was no space to pry between the steel and his ear canal. Panicked, Ryuichi called his friend Tamu for help. The two of them struggled for ages with no luck. Tamu suddenly said, "My other friend's university has something called an electromagnet. Let's go see if he can help." Like finding a lifeline, Ryuichi and Tamu drove straight to the university lab. When Tamu's friend examined the ears, he looked a bit surprised but reassured them, "Don't worry, I can use this magnet to pull the balls out." Relieved, Ryuichi nodded. "Please hurry. Let's start with the left ear," the friend said. He carefully placed the electromagnetic device near Ryuichi's ear and instructed him to relax. "Ready?" Counting down. 3, 2, 1. Then he flipped the switch. Suddenly, they both heard the satisfying clink sound of steel balls being pulled free, stuck to the magnet. That was the sound of relief. Now, this was my first company after graduating university, a place in the entertainment business. Or put plainly, a pachinko parlor. A month ago I quit because I felt like I couldn't handle this job. The main reason? The horrifying things I encountered while working there. Ghosts. Real ghosts haunting the machines. Here's how the story goes. When I joined, I was assigned to a suburban store on Tokyo's outskirts. I learned all kinds of tasks, including closing operations. The shop closed at 11 p.m, and after that, most of the work involved handling the cash, cleaning, turning off the lights, and patrolling machines during the night. Once or twice a month, technicians would come late to install new machines or adjust the pins inside the machines. Those nights were my nightmare. I'd often have to work until past midnight, and after 2 a.m., strange things would usually happen. One time, waiting in the office for the new machines to be installed. Once they finished, I started my rounds. After finishing the first floor's duties, I headed up to the second floor, where the machines waited silently. After finishing on the second floor, I checked in with the manager over my wireless earpiece. Everyone else had clocked out, only he remained in the office. The store was completely empty except for me. He told me he would wait until I finished shutting down the second floor staff machines and then join me to leave. Of course, when I got upstairs, there was nobody there at all. By the way, in this store, the first floor was home to the pachinko machines called Small Tank Peg, and the second floor had the slot machines called Dumpling Tiger Chicken. I went down the line, switching off each machine in sequence, one row at a time. It was around 2 in the morning, but halfway through shutting the lights off, I felt a strange discomfort. First, my wireless earpiece grew quiet and crackled with static. Talking to the manager in the office became difficult. At first, I thought it was another usual glitch since that happened fairly often. Then came the cold. At first, I assumed the air conditioner was blasting too hard, but the chill wasn't coming from the AC. It was coming from the direction of the stairs. When I reached the very last machine in the last row, that cold felt intense. My gut told me something was off, something unnatural. Suddenly, I had the feeling someone was behind me. I turned around, and my blood ran cold. A woman with long hair was moving from the machines near the stairs toward the corner, diagonally opposite me. I immediately knew this was normal. Fear gripped me. The store lights were off except for the faint emergency lighting. I couldn't make out her face clearly, but I could feel it. This was a terrifying presence. Then she turned from the corner and suddenly darted toward me, weaving swiftly through the rows of machines. My heart pounded like crazy. I hurriedly cut power to the last row of machines and raced to the staircase entrance. Glancing back once, the woman was gone. From then on, whenever it neared 2 in the morning, I dreaded going upstairs to shut off the lights. But the job had to be done, so I slapped on a brave face. Each time, that scary woman would first move to the corner opposite the stairs, then charge toward me. At first, I panicked every time, but over time, I figured out her pattern. I learned to turn off the lights before she could get near me. If I could keep her at a distance, I wasn't afraid. Then about a month ago, things changed. The woman seemed faster. Each time she charged at me, her speed was greater. The distance between us shrank. My anxiety spiked again. Then there was last week, the day before I quit. That night, after the tuner finished tuning the machines, I headed upstairs to shut off the lights. As usual, she appeared by the stairs, moved toward the corner. I quickly cut the power on the last row. Just as I was about to sprint to the stairs, she was right beside me, barely 3 steps away. I froze in terror. Slowly, I turned my head toward her. Her face was hidden beneath her hair, but her lower body seemed to be oozing some strange liquid. Then she suddenly raised her head. Her tummy, long, dripping tongue slithered out. I screamed and ran. My earpiece was full of static. The manager didn't seem to hear my scream. Back in the office, the manager looked at my pale face, quietly asked what was wrong. I told him everything he'd experienced in those months. He looked at me silently for a long moment, then said, "You saw her?" I nodded, with a sigh. He told me, a long time ago, a woman committed suicide in the restroom on the second floor, next to the stairs. She'd been addicted to gambling, borrowed tons of money, and in the end, she bet her life away. After that, they moved the restroom downstairs. He went on, "Have you noticed the monitor in that corner? After midnight, we always turn off the screens. You know why, right?" I told him I'd noticed as soon as I started working but hadn't asked really my business. The manager signaled for me to walk with him. We went over to the monitors and switched the screens on. We stared at one of the cameras on the second floor. There, on the screen, was a woman standing under the monitor. She was using her tongue hanging out, staring at the monitor with a look of bitter resentment. The moment I saw it, I freaked out. The manager immediately shut off the screen. The manager said, "That's how it is. Basically, we catch this on camera every single day, but it's really disgusting. So to keep everyone else from feeling uncomfortable, we usually turn off the monitors at night." That day, I told the manager I was quitting. He was troubled, but in the end he explained the situation to the company for me. Even though it's been almost a month since I quit, that image from the monitor is burned into my brain. I still can't forget it. And sometimes at night when I'm sleeping, I dream about that woman. In the dreams, she chases after me. This isn't a ghost story, but it is something that happened at a pachinko parlor. That morning, I was playing pachinko at a parlor and hit a super jackpot. After that, I kept winning during the premium time mode, one after another. In the end, I'd accumulated about 15 boxes of balls. I observed the other players around me. Nearby, there was a woman playing at a different machine, and on the other side, 2 men. I watched that woman. At the time, I estimated she probably had about 50 to 60,000 yen left in her pocket. I noticed she wasn't winning at all. When she couldn't hit anything, she gave up and left. The machine I was on had also just finished its winning streak and returned to its initial state. I moved to the machine that woman had been playing. Almost immediately after I started, I inexplicably hit the jackpot. I got excited, thinking how lucky I was. While I was happily winning, I suddenly noticed something in the reflection on the machine's glass. That woman, the one who'd been playing this machine, was standing right behind me. In all my years of pachinko, I'd encountered countless situations and seen all kinds of people, but this was the first time I'd ever felt danger. Still, I kept playing, pretending not to care. Eventually, the woman left, but 10 minutes later, she came back and stood behind me again. Through the glass reflection, I saw her staring at my back with a terrifying look in her eyes. After that, every 10 minutes or so, she would quietly stand behind me. I started to get scared. I prayed for the winning streak to end quickly, but it just kept going and going. Finally, after winning 20-7 times in a row, it ended. Once the streak was over, I hurried to the counter to exchange my prizes, then quickly left the parlor. When I left the pachinko parlor, that woman followed me. She followed me the whole way. Even though I walked pretty fast, she kept following, always staying about 10 meters behind me. I was scared. If I went straight home, she'd find out where I lived. So I wandered around various places, trying to lose her. But she didn't give up, she just kept following me. I was really freaking out. I didn't know what she wanted. Was it because she didn't win but I did, and now she resented me? Was she angry? This was bad. I felt like I was going to get robbed or killed. So I walked into the narrow alleys of a residential area and started running. That woman started running too, desperately chasing after me. And she was making these weird sounds, yelling at me. I was drenched in sweat, terrified out of my mind, running for my life. Finally, I managed to shake her off. But when I got home, I was trembling all over. I collapsed in the entryway, gasping for breath. I never went back to that parlor again. From that experience, I learned that the danger of pachinko parlors isn't just going broke. Those places can have all kinds of gamblers and lunatics. It's a place where just a few tens of thousands of yen can get you into some truly unexpected danger. One holiday, with nothing particular planned, I slept in and then, out of boredom, Went to a pachinko parlor. It was a scorching day. The TV news said it would reach about 40 degrees in the afternoon. It was unbearably hot from morning on. I parked my car in the pachinko parlor's parking lot. As I got out and was about to head inside, I heard a sound. I listened more carefully. It was a child crying. I didn't know where it was coming from. I thought, no way. Is the legend actually true? With that thought, I searched for the source of the crying and walked toward the sound. I found a red compact car in a parking spot in the far corner. The sound was coming from there. I walked closer and saw that the windows were open a crack. There were two small gaps of about 10 centimeters. Inside the car, there was a very young little girl, sitting in the back seat with her head down, crying. I quickly called out, "Hey, hey, hey, are you okay?" But the little girl didn't respond. She kept her head bowed, quietly crying. I told her, "Wait here for me. I'm going to find someone to help." Then, I hurried toward the counter inside the pachinko parlor. I thought, the parents must be playing pachinko inside. The temperature outside was already nearing 40 degrees Celsius. Inside the car, it must have been even hotter. If this went on any longer, the child would die. I explained the situation to the attendant at the counter in a rush. A man, who looked like the store manager, came out. Together, we ran back to the parking lot where the child had been crying. But to our shock, she was gone. The red little car that had been parked there just moments before was nowhere to be found. It had been only about 3 minutes since I left the car. Had the car been driven away? I told the man I'll call him the manager about what had just happened and described the car. After I finished, the manager's face went pale. Slowly, he said that happened 15 years ago. It's something I heard from the previous manager. 15 years ago, a child died inside a red car in this parking lot. The child had come with their mother, who was so addicted to pachinko that she forgot her child was in the car. By the time she remembered and rushed to check, the child had already died. Hearing this, I fell silent, though it sounded unbelievable. What terrified me more was how gambling addiction could make someone forget all sense of responsibility and decency. After hearing that story, I rarely went to pachinko parlors anymore. One night, after work, I went to a parlor. I was spaced out, staring blankly at the machine screen, when suddenly I heard a woman's scream from somewhere. That cry startled me. I snapped out of my daze and looked around. No woman in sight. No one else seemed to notice. I thought maybe I imagined it, but not long after, as I was about to zone out again, "What part of yourself?" The eerie wail came again, clear, unnerving, and pitiful. Feeling nervous, I asked the attendant and the customer next to me. Everyone said they hadn't heard anything. When I told this to a regular customer who usually played to my left, she paused thoughtfully, then said once, "There was a female customer who left her child at home to come play pachinko here. While she was playing, a fire broke out at home and her child died in the flames. After that, the woman grew depressed and lonely, unable to bear the pain. She ended her own life in the public restroom in the park nearby. Since then, rumors say her spirit sometimes appears here. As for why the woman's spirit would come to this pachinko parlor, nobody knows. There have been no other strange incidents or accidents here besides that story. So could the mournful cries I heard be hers? I was scared, but because it made quite a bit of money playing pachinko there, I kept coming back. After all, the place was always crowded. Even if I did encounter something, it wouldn't be too frightening. Over time, I heard the woman's cries now and then at the parlor. I got used to it, no longer feeling much about it, until one day, after work, I came in as usual. I was zoning out playing pachinko when I suddenly heard the woman's voice again. But this time, it wasn't the usual cry. This time, It whispered right into my ear, "Go home." Because the voice was so close, I jumped. Then I thought of the woman's story again. Had my own house caught fire? Was my wife or child in trouble at home? Terrified, I hurriedly left the parlor and ran all the way home. When I got back, I flung open the door and rushed to the living room. There was my wife, calmly watching TV and snacking, while our child slept peacefully. Seeing me so flustered, my wife asked what was wrong, because she was a timid person. If I told her this unbelievable story, she would worry herself sick. So I just said, "It's nothing," and brushed it off. But as that night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, my mind racing. What did she mean when she told me to come home quickly? Had I misheard her? The next day after work, I followed my usual routine, exiting the station and heading toward the little steel pig pachinko parlor. But when I reached the door, I was stunned. The place was closed. Mid-shift on a day it should have been open. I saw a delivery truck stuck inside the parlor. Curious, I went next door to a bakery and asked around. It turned out that not long after I left the parlor the previous night, a truck had crashed into the building. The driver was reportedly drunk. Later, I stood back where the parlor's entrance should have been and looked closely. The truck had smashed into the spot where I had been sitting at the pachinko machine that night. If I had kept sitting there, who knows, I might have been seriously injured. Or worse, somehow, I had escaped by inches. I realized then it was that strange woman who spoke to me before. The one who warned me to come home quickly. She had saved my life. This all happened on a day when I'd gone to the little steel pig with my friend Yayoda. We arrived together and split up to find machines we liked. I finally spotted one I wanted, swapped out some steel bowls, and was about to start playing when Yayoda came up beside me. "Go ahead and play," he said. "He'll wait for you at the cafe outside." Normally, I would have immediately asked if something was wrong, but Yayoda looked so serious, so strange. I just felt like I shouldn't press him for an explanation right there. The mood was weird, unsettling even. I told myself to just play through the balls I had bought, then meet him outside after. Once I finished, I dashed into the cafe where Yayoda was waiting. He looked embarrassed and said, "Actually, just now inside the parlor, I felt something, like a supernatural presence." Then he told me what he saw. He said the moment he entered the store, he saw the transparent, ghostly image of an old woman sitting in an empty seat. Then, the apparition drifted over and merged with a young woman nearby.